3 kitchen spices, combined in the right order, and the blood flow to your penis can triple. Even if you are 75, even if nothing has worked before, and even if your doctor has already told you this is simply part of getting older. What I am about to share with you today is not another list of foods that vaguely support circulation. It is not a single ingredient tip you have already heard 100 times. What I am sharing is a specific biological combination, a stack, where each spice unlocks something the others cannot do alone. And when all 3 meet inside your bloodstream at the same time, something extraordinary begins happening to the arteries that feed your erections. Men in their 60s, men in their 70s, men who had quietly written off intimacy as a chapter already finished, they are feeling warmth return, pressure return, morning erections they had not experienced in years, not because of a prescription, not because of an injection or an expensive supplement, because of a synergy that has been sitting in their kitchen the entire time. And here is what nobody is telling you. The order matters. The ratio matters. Take these 3 spices separately, randomly, without the correct sequence, and you capture maybe 20% of the effect. Combine them correctly, in the order I am about to show you, and the biological response is completely different. That is the secret. That is what this video is about today. Do not skip ahead, because the 3rd spice, the one that locks everything in place and sustains the results long-term, is the one that nobody is talking about. And without it, the first 2 deliver only a fraction of what they are capable of together. My name is Dr. Mei Anderson. I am a urologist with over 20 years of experience working exclusively with senior men's sexual health. I have sat across from thousands of men, strong men, proud men, who walked into my office with their eyes down and their voices low, carrying something heavy that nobody ever prepared them for. The loss of erections, the loss of reliable performance, the slow disappearance of the version of themselves that once felt powerful and fully alive in the bedroom. And what I discovered over 2 decades of practice is that the mainstream medical system is failing these men, not because physicians don't care, but because the solution that actually works, the one rooted in vascular biology and natural compound synergy, cannot be patented, cannot generate pharmaceutical profit, and so it sits in silence while men suffer unnecessarily. I created this channel, Vital Health Seniors, because that silence is not acceptable to me. You deserve to know what is happening inside your body, why it is happening, and exactly what you can do about it. Not in vague terms, not in theories, in specific actionable steps you can begin as soon as tonight. So if this channel is new to you, subscribe right now and tap the notification bell. Every video I release is designed specifically for men over 60 who refuse to accept that decline is their destiny. And right now in the comments below, I want you to type the word open, because that is precisely what we are doing today. We are reopening what age, inflammation, and time have been quietly closing. Type open so I know you are here and ready. Now let me show you something that will permanently change the way you understand everything you have been experiencing these past few years. Picture the arteries that supply blood to your penis as a network of small tunnels. When you were in your 30s and 40s, those tunnels were wide, flexible, and completely responsive. Blood surged through them the moment your body called for it. An erection was effortless. It was automatic. It was simply your biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now picture those same tunnels after decades of low-level inflammation, chronic stress, hormonal shifts, and the gradual vascular changes that come with aging. The walls of those tunnels have thickened. They have stiffened. The inner lining has become damaged and rough, and the tunnels themselves have been slowly, silently narrowing, until the blood that once rushed through them freely now barely moves. That is not a metaphor. That is the clinical reality inside the bodies of most men over 60 who are struggling with weak, unreliable, or absent erections. But here is what your doctor has likely never explained clearly enough. There are 3 specific biological locks keeping those tunnels closed. And most treatments, including the medications men spend hundreds of dollars on every month, address only one of them. That is why results feel incomplete. That is why the effect fades. That is why men come back to my office still frustrated, still searching, still hoping something will finally work the way they need it to. The first lock is endothelial stiffness. The endothelium is the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. When it becomes inflamed and stiff over time, your vessels lose the ability to expand rapidly on demand. No expansion means no blood surge. And no blood surge means no erection, regardless of how strong your desire is. The second lock is nitric oxide depletion. Nitric oxide is the chemical signal your body produces to instruct blood vessels to open wide. Without sufficient nitric oxide, vessels remain constricted no matter how much blood is available and waiting. After 60, the body's ability to produce nitric oxide drops sharply and consistently. This is the most critical piece of the entire puzzle, and almost nothing in conventional medicine addresses it adequately. The third lock is what I call the cortisol-testosterone war. Chronic stress, the financial pressure, the health worries, the daily weight that men over 60 carry quietly, floods the body with cortisol. Cortisol is directly antagonistic to testosterone. When cortisol is elevated, testosterone is suppressed. When testosterone is suppressed, desire weakens, erection signals lose their strength, and even when some blood flow improvement occurs, the hormonal foundation is too unstable to support consistent, reliable performance. Address one lock and you get temporary, fragile improvement. Address two and you get closer but still fall short. Address all three simultaneously, with the right biological tools in the right sequence, and the body begins doing something remarkable. It begins remembering how to work. Now before I show you the combination, I need to speak to something I know is true about the man watching this video. You are not someone who has done nothing. You have tried things. You have made genuine efforts. You have probably tried beet juice or ginger or some combination of supplements from a health store, maybe even a prescription that worked for a while, and then slowly stopped delivering what you needed, and something still feels missing. The effect is too weak or too short or too unpredictable. I want you to hear this clearly. That is not your failure. That is the failure of incomplete science being applied to a complex biological problem. Beet juice is genuinely powerful for nitric oxide production. The research supports that completely, but it does almost nothing for endothelial stiffness, and it does not touch the cortisol-testosterone imbalance. So you get a temporary blood flow improvement that fades because two of the three locks are still fully engaged. Ginger is a real anti-inflammatory with documented circulation benefits. But on its own it is too slow, too mild, and it does not generate the concentrated and sustained nitric oxide environment needed to force blood through arteries that have been narrowing for years. Garlic on its own improves circulation meaningfully. But without the compounds that repair and soften the endothelial lining, improved blood pressure has nowhere to express itself fully in the tissue that matters most. Each of these is like having a key that partially fits the lock. You can feel it engaging. You can sense that something is almost happening, but the door never fully opens. What I found, through years of working with patients, studying clinical research, and combining the knowledge of traditional medicine with modern vascular biology, is that three specific kitchen spices, taken together in the correct sequence at the correct time, create a chain reaction that addresses all three locks at once. Compound 1 opens and softens the artery walls. Compound 2 floods them with nitric oxide signal. Compound 3 stabilizes the hormonal environment, so the response is sustained rather than fleeting. Separately, each ingredient is useful. Together they are transformative. The effect is not additive, it is multiplicative. 1 + 1 + 1 does not equal 3 in biochemistry when synergy is involved. It equals something far greater. And the order in which these enter your system determines whether that synergy fires completely or partially collapses. I will give you the exact order. I will give you the exact ratios. I will give you the exact timing. But first, the spices themselves. The first spice in this combination has been used for thousands of years in traditional medicine across Asia, India, and the Middle East. Modern men have largely dismissed it as a cooking ingredient, a background flavor, something added to curry without much thought. That spice is turmeric, but not in the way you have heard about it before. Inside turmeric is a compound called curcumin. And curcumin has a remarkable, clinically documented ability to reduce inflammation specifically in the endothelial lining of blood vessels. It goes directly after lock number 1. The stiffness and damage in the inner walls of your arteries. When curcumin reaches those vessel walls, it suppresses the inflammatory pathways that cause the walls to thicken and harden over time. It begins restoring elasticity. It makes the arteries more responsive, more capable of expanding rapidly when blood flow demand increases. Clinical studies have shown that consistent curcumin intake can improve endothelial function by up to 37% within 3 weeks. That is not a subtle improvement. That is the difference between a vessel that barely opens and one that can dilate fully to allow a powerful, sustained surge of blood into the tissue where you need it most. But here is where most men go wrong with turmeric. And this mistake renders it nearly useless. Curcumin alone has terrible bioavailability. Your body absorbs almost none of it unless it is paired with a specific activating compound. On its own, you could consume turmeric every single day for a month and absorb perhaps 5% of its active ingredient. The rest passes through your system without ever entering the bloodstream. That activating compound is found in the second spice. And when these two combine inside your digestive system, absorption increases by over 2,000%. Not a typo. 2,000%. Which means turmeric without the second spice is essentially decorative. Turmeric with it becomes one of the most bioavailable anti-inflammatory compounds your body can receive from food. If you have been struggling with the weakness, the uncertainty, the quiet frustration of a body that no longer responds the way it should, hit the like button on this video right now. Not as a favor to me, as a declaration to yourself that today is different. That today you are choosing action over silence and resignation. The second spice is black pepper. And I understand completely how that sounds. Black pepper. The thing sitting in a grinder on your table right now. Stay with me, because what black pepper does to this combination is the reason the entire stack works at the level it does. Black pepper contains a compound called piperine. Piperine is what I think of as the biological door opener. When piperine enters your digestive system alongside curcumin, it forces your body to absorb the curcumin at a rate it could never achieve alone. That 2,000% absorption increase, that is piperine at work. Without it, turmeric barely registers. With it, turmeric becomes a genuine vascular intervention. But piperine's role in this combination goes well beyond absorption. Piperine is independently a vasodilator. It directly signals the smooth muscle tissue surrounding your blood vessels to relax and expand. It supports nitric oxide production, working on lock number 2, and it does so with measurable speed. Within 45 minutes of ingestion, documented increases in blood vessel dilation have been recorded in clinical research settings. Now consider what is happening simultaneously when turmeric and black pepper are combined correctly. The curcumin is softening and restoring the endothelial lining, addressing the structural stiffness in the vessel walls. The piperine is simultaneously signaling those same vessels to dilate, while supporting the nitric oxide environment needed to keep them open. 2 of the 3 biological locks are being addressed at the same time through a single combined action. Men who have used just these 2 together, properly dosed and properly timed, describe a warmth that begins in the lower abdomen and moves outward, a tingling through the legs, a fullness in the pelvic region that they had not been aware of in years. Not arousal necessarily, just circulation, blood physically reaching tissue that had been starved of it. One patient, a 72-year-old man who came to me after years of complete erectile failure, contacted me after 2 weeks of this combination. His voice was different, lighter. He said, "Dr. Anderson, something is waking up. That is not poetry. That is vascular biology finally receiving the signals it needed. But I want to be completely honest with you, because honesty is the foundation of everything I do on this channel." Turmeric and black pepper together address the physical infrastructure, the vessel walls, the dilation capacity, the nitric oxide environment. What they do not adequately address is lock number 3. The cortisol-testosterone war continues running in the background. And if that hormonal conflict keeps going unchecked, the gains from locks 1 and 2 will remain fragile and inconsistent. For results that are sustained, reliable, and genuinely transformative, you need the third spice. The one that locks the effect in place. And this is the one that nobody is talking about. Type triple in the comments right now if you are ready. I want to see who is committed to their own recovery before I reveal it. The third spice is cloves. Not clove oil from a supplement. Not a capsule. Whole dried cloves. Available in any grocery store for almost nothing. The kind that traditional healers across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East have used specifically for male vitality and circulation for centuries. And modern science is now confirming what those traditions always understood. Inside each clove is a compound called eugenol. Eugenol does something the first two spices cannot accomplish on their own. When you chew a whole clove, the oils released absorb directly through the mucous membranes in your mouth and enter the bloodstream within minutes, bypassing slow digestion entirely and getting to work almost immediately. Once eugenol is circulating in your bloodstream, it acts on the nervous system in a very specific and powerful way. It binds to receptors that regulate the body's stress response, and it begins actively lowering cortisol, not gradually over days. Within the same session, within the same hour that you chew it, the ceasefire in the cortisol-testosterone war begins almost immediately. As cortisol drops, testosterone has room to rise naturally. The hormonal foundation that underlies sexual desire, erection quality, and physical stamina begins to stabilize. Not artificially, not through external hormones, but because the thing suppressing your natural production has been reduced. And that is only the first thing eugenol does. The second is equally critical. Eugenol is a direct vasodilator, acting through a completely different biological pathway than the piperine in the black pepper. You now have two separate vasodilation mechanisms firing simultaneously through two independent pathways. That is the multiplicative synergy I described earlier. It is why the combined effect is so dramatically greater than any single ingredient alone. The third thing cloves do, and this is something I rarely hear discussed outside of research circles, connects your oral health directly to your erectile function. When bacteria accumulate in the gums, even without obvious symptoms, even without pain or bleeding you notice, those bacteria enter the bloodstream through microscopic gaps in the gum tissue. Once inside the bloodstream, they travel throughout the body and create localized inflammation in the smallest, most sensitive blood vessels, including those in the penile tissue. That inflammation physically narrows those vessels and directly impairs the blood flow that erections depend on. Research has found that men with chronic gum disease are up to 70% more likely to experience erectile dysfunction. That is a direct biological pathway from the health of your mouth to the reliability of your erections. And almost no one is telling men this. When you chew whole cloves, the eugenol released immediately begins neutralizing harmful oral bacteria before they can enter the bloodstream. You are cleaning the source of the problem rather than only treating the downstream consequences. When the bacterial inflammation is removed, the vessels become clearer. The blood moves more freely. And the effects of the turmeric and black pepper now have a cleaner, wider pathway to express themselves fully. Now picture all three working together inside your body simultaneously. Turmeric with curcumin softening and repairing the inner lining of your arteries, restoring the elasticity that decades of inflammation took away. Black pepper with piperine driving maximum curcumin absorption into the bloodstream, while independently dilating vessels and stimulating nitric oxide production. And cloves with eugenol suppressing cortisol within the hour, creating space for testosterone to recover, clearing oral bacteria from the circulatory system, and dilating blood vessels through an entirely separate mechanism. 3 locks, 3 keys, all engaged at the same time, through complementary biological pathways, working in coordination rather than isolation. A patient of mine, 76 years old, managing with prescription medication for years with diminishing results, described it this way after 30 days on this protocol. He said it felt like the lights came back on in a room he had stopped entering. That room was intimacy. That room was confidence. That room was the man he recognized in himself before age began dimming things gradually, quietly, without warning. The lights can come back on. The biology behind why is real, documented, and available to you starting tonight. Now let me give you the exact protocol. Because as I have said, the order matters, the ratio matters, and the timing matters. First thing in the morning, on an empty stomach, you begin with the cloves. Place 2 to 3 whole dried cloves between your back teeth and bite down slowly. Do not rush this. Let the oils coat your tongue and the inside of your mouth fully. Hold the broken pieces there for a full 30 seconds before continuing to chew. You will feel an intense warmth. That is the eugenol absorbing through your mucous membranes and entering your bloodstream directly. After 60 seconds of slowly working the cloves, you can swallow the remnants or discard them. Then, within 5 minutes of completing the clove chew, while your vessels are already beginning to open from the eugenol, mix half a teaspoon of quality turmeric powder with a generous pinch of black pepper into either a small cup of warm water or a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil. The fat in olive oil provides an additional absorption enhancement for curcumin on top of what the piperine is already doing, stacking the bioavailability even further. The reason this sequence matters physiologically is straightforward. The eugenol from the cloves begins relaxing and dilating your vessel walls within minutes. You are opening the highway before you send the traffic. The turmeric and black pepper then enter a vascular system that is already primed and receptive. The curcumin reaches endothelial tissue faster. The piperine's vasodilation effect compounds on top of what the eugenol has initiated, and the overall biological response is measurably stronger than if these were taken in reverse order or separately throughout the day. In the evening, approximately 1 hour before bed, repeat a modified version. 2 cloves chewed slowly using the same method. But in the evening, instead of turmeric and black pepper in water or olive oil, stir them into warm water or warm bone broth. The reason is that your body enters its primary testosterone production and vascular repair cycle during deep sleep. Providing the cortisol-lowering, anti-inflammatory support just before sleep means your body can fully optimize that overnight repair process without interference from elevated stress hormones or residual vascular inflammation. Most men in my practice who follow this evening protocol consistently report within the first week that they are sleeping more deeply, waking less frequently through the night. And within the second week, something begins happening in the mornings that they had not experienced in years, and that they are almost afraid to acknowledge at first, because they do not want to be disappointed again. Do not add sugar to any version of this combination. Sugar directly suppresses the nitric oxide signaling pathway you are working to restore. Do not use pre-mixed turmeric products with fillers. Do not use powdered clove. You need whole cloves for the eugenol to release properly through the oral mucosa. And do not skip the black pepper. Turmeric without black pepper is one of the most common and most costly mistakes men make when attempting this on their own. In the first 3 days you will notice the immediate sensory response. The warmth from the cloves, a tingling through the legs, a subtle shift in sleep quality. These are early signals. Your vascular system is beginning to respond. Do not dismiss them. By the end of the first week, curcumin is accumulating in the vessel walls. The endothelial lining is softening. Men describe a warmth that now extends through the groin region without any external stimulation. Energy levels improve, particularly morning energy. The flat, foggy feeling that so many men over 60 accept as simply normal begins to lift. By day 14, cortisol has measurably reduced from consistent eugenol exposure. Testosterone has more room to function. Men begin reporting something they were afraid to say out loud: spontaneous morning erections. Not every morning yet, but the first one. And that first one carries a significance that has nothing to do with the physical act. It carries the weight of evidence that the body has not given up. That the biology is still there, waiting for the right combination to bring it back. By day 30, the full picture emerges. The combination of restored endothelial flexibility, sustained nitric oxide availability, and a stabilized cortisol-testosterone relationship expresses itself as consistent, reliable erection quality. Not just on perfect mornings. Responsive erections. Erections that arrive when you want them and remain when you need them. Men describe feeling like themselves again. Not a younger man themselves. The man who never questioned whether his body would respond. The man who reached for his partner without hesitation or fear. The man who carried confidence not as an effort, but as a natural state. I want to speak to you directly now. Not clinically. Simply as someone who has spent over 20 years sitting with the weight that this conversation carries for the men who finally allow themselves to have it. Erectile decline is one of the most silently devastating experiences a man can face. Not because physical intimacy is everything, but because of what it represents. Connection. Desire. The experience of being fully present in your own body, and in the life of the person you love. The certainty that you can give and receive closeness without bracing for failure. When that begins to slip away, it does not stay in the bedroom. It changes how you move through the world. It changes how you stand beside your partner. It creates a quiet, growing distance between who you are right now and who you remember being. And the cruelest part is that most men carry this entirely alone. They do not mention it to friends. They minimize it with their partners. They convince themselves it is aging, it is normal, it is simply the price of the years they have lived. But it is not the price of the years. It is the consequence of 3 biological locks that have never been addressed correctly at the same time. And those locks can be opened. I have watched it happen in men in their late 70s. Men who had not had a reliable erection in a decade, recover substantially and confidently. I have watched relationships change. I have watched men carry themselves differently, speak with more ease, laugh more freely. That is not a miracle available only to certain men. That is biology. And your biology has not surrendered. There are 3 kinds of men watching this right now. The first will close the video, tell themselves they will try it later, and later never arrives. The second will try it once, see no overnight transformation on day 1, and walk away before the compound effect has had time to build. The third will commit to 30 days, follow the protocol in the correct order, trust the science, and 30 days from now will be standing somewhere different. Physically, emotionally, and in the quiet confidence they carry daily. I am asking you to be the third man, because you did not find this video by accident. Something in you is still fighting. Something in you has refused to fully accept that this is permanent. That instinct is correct. It is worth listening to. Tonight, not next week, not when you feel more motivated. Tonight, go to your kitchen. Find your turmeric. Find your black pepper. Find whole dried cloves. If you do not have them, they are in every grocery store and they cost almost nothing. Before you sleep tonight, chew 2 cloves slowly and feel what happens in your body when that warmth begins to move. Then take your turmeric and black pepper. Go to sleep knowing that while your body rests, it is already beginning the work of reopening what age has been slowly closing. Do that for 3 days before you judge anything. 3 days is all I am asking. And when you come back to this channel, leave a comment below telling me which of the 3 locks you believe has been your biggest obstacle. Artery stiffness, nitric oxide depletion, or the cortisol-testosterone war. Tell me in the comments. I read every reply and I respond personally. If this video gave you something real today, share it. There is a man in your life right now who is struggling with this in silence. A friend. Someone who would never search for this himself. Share it with him. You may give him something that changes the next chapter of his life. Subscribe to Vital Health Seniors if you have not already. I am releasing a follow-up video very soon covering the exact 4th ingredient that supercharges the absorption of this entire protocol. Subscribe or see it first. You do not want to miss it. Your arteries have not forgotten how to open. Your body has not forgotten how to respond. Your testosterone has not forgotten how to rise. They have been waiting, all of them, for the right biological combination to remind them. That combination is in your kitchen right now. I am Dr. Mei Anderson. This is Vital Health Seniors, and I will see you in the next video.